Внимание! Говорит и показывает Москва.
When the global financial crisis struck in 2008, the European Union entered a fierce region-wide recession that was to last for several years. Officialdom calls this the sovereign debt crisis. 55 years after its foundation and after 17 of its countries had adopted a common currency, we discovered that what had been told us was a network of interconnected and coordinated economies had instead a core and a periphery. The mainstream narrative is that peripheral countries had profited from the entrance into the common market and into the Eurozone. Emboldened by a protected environment and despite warnings from the core, peripheral countries have postponed structural reforms and maintained unsustainable levels of public spending. Once the credit crunch struck, the periphery found itself at risk of defaulting on its debt, and the core had to come to the rescue. This is a lie. According to the World Trade Organization, nearly 3/4 of all exports from European countries go to other European countries. This means that if some part of the European Union is running a trade surplus, some other part is necessarily raising its private debt to absorb that surplus. Sold as a coordinated supranational economy, competing with the rest of the world, the Union is in reality a ring-fenced market within which individual economies compete against each other. This is the European Union as it looked back in 1995. At this time, most EU countries have a positive balance of payments. Production output is sound and unemployment is high but falling steadily. Germany alone seems to lag behind. With the euro, the situation is suddenly reversed. Production slows down as the so-called periphery begins to soak German surplus. Germany has frozen the wages of its workers, and with a fixed exchange rate, it faces no competition from the rest of the Eurozone. With a fixed exchange rate, the balance of payments of the PIGS can no more turn positive. France and Italy only last a few years longer. When the global financial crisis strikes, credit-inflated bubbles burst everywhere. Production stops and unemployment explodes. What has emerged from that shock is a Europe in which only a small block of countries is thriving in near-full employment maintained by large exports. The rest of Europe is plunged into a hopeless pursuit of competitiveness. Despite a waning aggregate demand and the loss of millions of jobs, the so-called periphery is forced to keep absorbing surplus from the core by raising ever higher levels of private debt. With a fixed exchange rate, the only option for the Eurozone countries is cutting wages in what has become a systemic attack on the working class. Spanish depositors are forced to refinance their banks. Greece has been wiped out of economic existence. The haircut of its banking system has thrown Cyprus on the brink of default. The levy on Cyprus deposits affects Slovenia. Each time, they tell us this is an exception. But it's not, and sovereign debt has nothing to do with it.